Auf der Welt, Hawaii flur, die Wellen rauschen, es Szene stur, Hawaii flur, Hawaii flur. Die Wellen rauschen, es Szene stur, Hawaii flur, Hawaii flur. Hier auf der Welt, Hawaii flur, Hawaii flur. Die Wellen rauschen, es Szene stur, Hawaii flur, Hawaii flur.
Good morning, my dear friends and family. Captain Starsky joins the chat. Happy coffee, everyone. First of all, it's very, very nice to see you, my friends. And second of all, check this out. We have closed the fundraiser. Yay! Look at these absolute legends here. Yesterday, Mike Richardson, Michael Egan, Zachary Morton, thank you so much. These 98 absolutely legendary people helped my brigade with an amazing track that will be delivered in the very, very next convoy. Thank you so much. I cannot explain how grateful I am for this, because those are my guys currently operating in the area of Pokrovsk that Russians are trying to take control for already over 1.5 years, and they still suck balls. Thank you so much, my dear friends. I appreciate it. So let's talk just a bit about the recent updates. Katya, hello there in the chat. Hello, Hacky and Jason and Dan. my God. And David, all the beautiful people there in the chat. Hello, Landos, brother. Hello, how are you? Let's start probably with a very inspiring quote from Karol Nawrocki, current Polish president, who said that in Poland, we don't know a different Russia besides aggressive Russia. And it doesn't matter if it's Tsarist Russia, White Russia, Bolshevist Russia, or today's Putinist Russia. It's always a threat for Poland and Europe. And it's a very, very conscious and absolutely proper position nowadays, because Russia is a terrorist country, it's a terrorist regime, recognized as terrorist regime by European Union, by NATO Parliamentary Assembly in 2022. And we should all remember that, we should all keep that in mind, because there is no different Russia, whatever different Russia, whatever Trump's friends and whatever, all that only exists in a parallel reality. The true reality that we have today is that, unfortunately, terrorist Russian Federation is a big threat to all the civilized world. We should unite to fight it together, otherwise we are fucked. Switching to other news. In Caspian Sea, Iranian cargo ship Rona is kind of sinking. It didn't make it to Astrakhan, and this ship is known for smuggling weapons to Russia. It didn't arrive to Astrakhan either because of some kind of smoking incident. You don't smoke on board of ships, and you also don't smuggle weapons to Russia. Both are very, very dangerous for your health, my friends. We should all keep that in mind. The beautiful Deutschland is sending its soldiers today to Greenland. We're talking about a tiny reconnaissance unit that will be deployed in Greenland to monitor the situation. And we also know that together with German friends, also France is participating in the military mission in Europe, according to AFP. That refers to the French representative. These guys will make sure that nobody invades the sovereign country of Denmark, sovereign people of Greenland, and generally they will make sure that everything is under control and NATO stays united. President Trump yesterday apparently had a bad hamburger in the morning again, because he actually accused that Zelensky, not Putin, but Zelensky is holding up a Ukraine peace deal. Again, we can see this absolutely amazing respect to the international law, respect to Ukraine's sovereignty, territorial integrity, respect to the Budapest Memorandum, when quite a few American conservatives and generally American society were so much disturbed in 1994 that Ukraine has its huge nuclear arsenal, third biggest nuclear arsenal in the world, and they were so concerned that, oh my God, how can you do that? And Ukrainians basically said, okay, dear American friends, don't worry, we are not going to attack you, we will just give up everything so you could sleep peacefully. And they were so happy, there were celebrations on the American streets that Ukraine is such a peaceful country. I believe that in 1994, Donald Trump was spending his time somewhere on the Epstein Island. He missed all that, all right? That's, again, I'm not making this up, everything is there in the FBI reports. And he probably missed all that. He doesn't really remember what Ukraine gave up. So he and his kids and his family and his people could actually sleep a bit more peacefully at night, knowing that third largest nuclear arsenal in the world is not targeting the American cities, which again was a very, very good gesture, friendly gesture from Ukrainian people. Apparently Trump kind of forgot about that one. But we will remind him. Speaking of this, guys, it's actually very, very serious because remember a couple of weeks ago we talked about Venezuela, and I said that, guys, it's not like Trump humiliating Putin. It's not like Trump is limiting the Putin's influence in his sphere of influence in the on the American continent, right? Let's wait just a couple of more days or weeks and see what is happening. If there is some big breakthrough on the front line from the Russians or the Trump's rhetorics change, I will know for sure. And basically, there it is. Friends, you make your own decision, alright? I already made mine, because in my personal opinion, if somebody behaves like Russian asset, talks like Russian asset, looks like Russian asset, thinks like Russian asset, and acts like Russian asset, then maybe he fucking is. That is just my personal opinion based on what is going on these days, alright? I just make logical connections. So that is my personal opinion. You make your own opinion, and I will completely respect it. Over the past 48 hours, according to the Israeli 14th channel, referring their own sources, over the past 48 hours, Iran transferred almost $1.5 billion to Dubai. That's something to keep in mind. Maybe we already see like first real signs of Khamenei preparing for a tiny trip to the beautiful winter wonderland of the terrorist federation, and maybe we will see him joining that little club of Putin's friends, all right, Bashar Assad, Yanukovych, all that shit. Maybe we'll see that happening already very soon. I hope that it won't take as much time as Ukrainian revolution did, because in Ukraine we fought for November, December, January. We fought for 4 months, and I really hope that it will take less time, because every single day in Iran, human lives lost, people executed, and crimes committed. So we are rooting for the Iranian people. And the governor of Bryansk Oblast has finally arrived to the find out department, all right? Because I will translate this for you. He says that the armed forces of Ukraine are committing inhumane crimes. He says that Ukrainian terrorists deliberately attacked the objects of communal and energy infrastructure on the territory of Bryansk Oblast. This Russian man says it's absolutely cunning and cynical, considering the frosts that are established on the territory of the region, and basically he explains the damage that was received by the terror Russian infrastructure as a result of those strikes. The Russians are so mad that someone is striking heating power stations in winter. Can you imagine that? Karma literally sitting there freaking crying from laughter, seriously, like over there, I would show you. So we started with Russian cringe. We will continue with Russian cringe. The terrorist Larkin, that is one of the Russian propagandists. There are not too many subscribers actually, but we keep following him because even the tiny Russian propagandists are still criminals. So he says that the Russian interests must be established everywhere. If there is our flag on the Russian ship, then it means that seizing this ship is attack on the Russian sovereignty, on Russian political, economical, and military subjectivity in the world. He says energy interests of Iran are our interests. We need that Iran felt okay in terms of its oil exports and everything else, because this directly influences the Russian special military operation and everything else. Like, if a Russian person with a Russian patch is fucking a donkey, that is our man, and that is basically our donkey. We should be proud of that. If a person with a Russian patch poops somewhere on the children's playground, or throwing syringes somewhere on the staircase, or like pukes on your door, that is our man. We should support him and shit like that. That is an absolutely fascist mentality, in my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. But the Russian fascism has absolutely no borders. He basically calls that Russians should go everywhere. They should shoot, capture, they should torture, they should steal, everything for the interests of beautiful terrorist federation. Everything so people in the terrorist federation had proper life. That is some kind of that's actually a really cool apartment right there. That's a Russian person actually showing her new flat, all right, somewhere in Ust-Pizduysk. Looks cozy. I think Donald Trump would literally admire, the Russian lifestyle right there. The bath itself is actually very impressive, I tell you that. Again, beautiful winter wonderland. She's like, whoa, look what I have here. What a joy, what a pleasure to have this beautiful apartment. What a pleasure to live in the Russian Federation. Imagine like all those cringy people from Western countries actually coming to Russia, hoping that they will finally escape this gay rope that America, hateful America, full of trans people, full of Muslims and stuff like that, and they find themselves in this absolutely amazing Russian wonderland. Just check this out. I think that it's absolutely amazing, and actually, if we look at this, holy fuck, well, what you're looking at right there on your screens is basically the face of the Russian world, as they deserve it. Holy shit. Anyways, I promised you just a bit of Russian cringe today, and that is not even the whole Russian cringe. I will show you a speech by a Ukrainian member of parliament representing an oppositionist platform. We have this pro-Russian movement in the Ukrainian parliament. Yes, we do. It's not like President Zelensky took them out of the Verkhovna Rada and shot them, somewhere in the dark back alley. They're still there, again, because Ukraine is democracy. Unfortunately, they're still there. And yesterday, one of the Ukrainian members of parliament, the representative of the pro-Russian movement, Mr. Can I call him Mr. fucking Hnatenko? He had a speech which was actually so Freudist. So today this is the most quoted speech in Ukrainian media, and I will translate it for you. He says, the main goal of our parliament is to make sure that we have political stability in Ukraine. And destroy the trust that our Ukrainian defenders are so heavily fighting for. This is like a direct quote. And if Dr. Freud was with us today, he would fucking cry. I swear. But again, at least they are not even pretending anymore. They actually say what they really think. And we are slowly moving towards the main segment of our magnificent Russian cringe. I will take just a tiny sip if you don't mind. Hello, Vlad. Always a pleasure to see you there in the chat. This one was 100% Freudist. Absolutely. Like, looking at that, I feel proud. I feel proud that, even the worst, the pro-Russian motherfuckers that we have in the Ukrainian parliament, at least they don't bullshit and they don't lie. They say directly, we should destroy the trust that Ukrainian defenders are so heavily fighting for. That is absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, dear pro-Russian members of the parliament, for at least not lying, all right, to the Ukrainian society, to the international society. That's amazing. Mercado stream. Mercado is streaming right now. Oh my God. I see. I'm like, I didn't know about that. Okay, let's switch to the main Russian cringe. There it is. So this comes from Bryansk, and on your screens you can actually observe some of the recent technology, some of the recent innovations in terms of the Russian militech. Of course, I'm not talking about the cringy fucking Lada. Fuck Lada. I am, of course, talking about this amazing Russian body armor that you can see on your screens. From what I can tell, this is a state-issued Russian body armor that is equipped with this amazing high-tech armor plates made out of some pretty much sophisticated level 4 birch. Joy Mama, 100%. So it's equipped with this sophisticated armor plate made out of plywood, and this one can actually protect Russians who wear this armor from literally everything. These armor plates can protect them from bullets, drones, drinking, cellulite, and of course living in Russia. They give this 100% protection. Just a tiny backstory. So those are the armored vests that are used currently by the Russian energy engineers, right? Like by all those poor folks currently running around panicking in Russia, like how to save Russian energy grid from complete demise. So those were equipped with those armored vests. And of course, because those energy engineers are currently much more important than all that fucking Russian cannon fodder that is shooting itself in Ukraine all the time, I believe that the body armor used by the Russian soldiers is actually made out of horse shit and just a bit of Russian Orthodox faith, all right? So they should be actually happy to wear that, because that stuff actually helps them to escape living in the terrorist federation. Just like that. It works this way, my friends. What does the Vlad say? Oh my god, I missed this one. It makes attaching the ATM easier. They can screw it on. Oh my god, Vlad. Top comment, alright. But basically... okay, friends. Let's just read some commentaries because they're amazing. Russia giving their soldiers 1/6 of a casket in their vest. My thoughts exactly. The power of prayer, absolutely. They have to dig shrapnel and splinters out of them. 100%. First toilet tents for body bags, next they carry wood for a coffins. Actually, yeah, because if you think about this, if there are like 5 Russian degenerates fertilizing Ukrainian soil, you can actually walk around them, collect one single casket out of like 6 Russians. Sounds legit to me. I've got a collider they can borrow for their heads. Nothing says superpower quite like a military-industrial complex that sources its primarily defense components from the laminate flooring in IKEA. Oh my god. The metal plates were inserted into the Russian Navy life jackets by mistake. Oh my god, it hurts. That's a nice one, my friend. Do you remember... The Icona will help more. Yeah, like they provide already, provide those Russians with, you know, the plywood pieces so they could draw Russian iconas, right? If they survive long enough, because it takes quite a lot of time to draw one properly. Do you remember that Russian cringe when Russians found a destroyed tank somewhere in the Donbass fields or something like that, and they started examining this tank and laughing at it, and they made this absolutely cringy discovery when inside of the dynamic armor slots they found fucking bricks, and they were like, those fucked up Ukrainians, look at this shit, and they laughed until they realized that it was a Russian tank. That was like the best cringe of, I believe, 2022 or 2023, in my personal opinion. Oh my god, I laughed so much, my friends. Next thing, they will stuff it with hay. Technically, they already stuff those armored vests with Russians themselves, so I think it's technically the same. The Starlink transmitters on horses and mules are some of the most top-notch comedy I've seen for the past few months. My friend, I agree with you 100%. Oh, I'm sure if they get hungry, they will... Oh my god. I'm sure if they get hungry, they will eat it. Plywood goes great with vodka and sheep, by the way. They can actually use it as a plate for sheep. Yeah, you remember that one with the Russian tank? That was absolutely amazing. Like, they were laughing so openly, so naively, you know, like kids. And then they discovered some of those Russian Zetkas in that tank, some of the Russian steak there, you know, molten into the seat, and they realized that, oh shit, that's actually our guys, our proud Russian guys, our proud innovations of the Innovation Center of Skolkovo, bricks instead of the dynamic armor. Because why? Because we don't care, they will fucking burn anyways. Oh. I do feel sorry for the horses and mules, though. Hope most survive and reach the Ukrainian lines to get some hay and oats. 100%. I'm not sure where they go next. Most probably they will go to like Kyiv Rus Park, not far from Kyiv, because we have like those attractions, you know, there are horses, people reenacting the life in the Kyiv Rus like 1,000 years ago and stuff like that. Maybe maybe they will be sent to like Ukrainian farms or something. I have no idea. But 100% I guarantee that they will not be raped anymore like in the Russian army. They will be treated well, and nobody will be hunting them. I heard they have to pay a deposit on horses and donkeys so they won't eat them. I heard that one too. I cannot confirm it though. But again, it's kind of cringy. We remember that Russians were saying that the whole platoon would collect something like $400 for a donkey to be able to deliver their ammunition and supplies to the frontline positions, which is something absolutely crazy. I asked my lady, she said that in Iran, for example, you can buy a donkey for like a quarter of that price. The donkeys in Russia are currently extremely overpriced, I think, and the donkeys that are shipped to Kadyrovites, for example, they're even more overpriced for obvious reasons. Do you remember how at the beginning of the war they covered trucks with logs of wood to protect them from javelins? Ah, this one actually makes sense now, because apparently they're just, inserting those... oh my god. Just a second, editor's calling. One minute, please. All right. UATV disturbing during the stream. I didn't warn my editors that I will have one. So, привіт. Okay, so returning to our topic. That actually makes sense, because I remember 2022, we've seen quite a few of those Russian trucks and Russian vehicles armed or equipped with Russian birch tree. Why? Because Russkaya bereza, the Russian birch tree, is actually considered, part of this Russian culture, Russian world. Wherever you go and see the birch tree, the Russians are fucking crazy about this shit. They want to hug the tree, they want to fuck the tree, because to them, the birch tree triggers some absolutely fucking crazy emotions inside of them. They start behaving like crazy people. And apparently this Russian berezka, according to the Russian legends, it holds some sort of, like Russian spirit of Russian taiga and stuff like that. And that is why they literally make those armor plates out of the birch tree, hoping that the Russian spirit is stronger than a bullet, which is not the case. Believe me, we checked. Have you seen the new Sabot rounds for pistols that go straight through the rear door of a Russian trooper? Anything goes well. Anything that is like 5.45 millimeter, 7.62 millimeter goes straight through whatever Russians are making. All right. What's the difference between a Lada and Jehovah's Witnesses? You can shut the door on a Jehovah's Witnesses. That one is good. Oh my god. Yeah. Send our greetings, Holy. I will, I promise, next time. If a donkey cart was good enough for your grandpa, it's good enough for you. Also, donkeys and horses poop. They sue that for warmth, I guess. Could be, actually. I will not be surprised, because we are talking about Russians, all right? Nothing about Russia looks surprising to me, my friends, because I know that shit for decades, and I know that they are very, very, how to say it, interesting. They come with very, very interesting solutions at times. I wonder, how do they react to that themselves, all right, when they see that stuff? What's their own reaction to that sort of body armor? I have literally no idea, but the fact that they are actually given those manuals on how to unalive themselves, all right, trying to evade Ukrainian captivity, the Red Cross access, and all that goodness. The fact that they give out all those instructions and disseminate them among the Russian invaders, that actually tells a lot. I doubt any Russian warhorse will ever match Sergeant Reckless of the United States Marine Corps or Bill the Bastard of the Australian Light Horse. I have absolutely no doubt, because generally speaking, Russians always sucked in terms of cavalry, and we can see this even today, all right? Oh, okay. What else do we have? Because that Russian cringe is not enough, my friends. Is it Bryansk or Belgorod? Because when we say BNR, we usually mean either Bryansk People's Republic or like Belgorod People's Republic, but they introduced some more of the Russian armor, right? Designed to actually protect the Russian generators over here. So we can say a bunch of Russian generators. Oryol, I think it's Oryol. Is it Bryansk or Belgorod? Who the fuck knows, and who the fuck even gives a damn about it? Russians decided to protect their generators from a drone strike using the tires. And by the way, if you take a closer look at those tires, they're balder than me, all right? What the fuck? I thought Russia was a rich country where they can literally afford at least tires, all right? But we can see like this superior Russian protection of a Russian generator, which actually makes absolutely no sense, because first of all, I don't think that Ukrainian long-range drones will be targeting tiny Russian generators like this one. On the other hand, if something crashes nearby, I don't really think that this amazing protection will actually save those generators from a shock wave or, for example, from fragments. I literally have no idea. Why are they doing that? Well, the answer is found in their Savok roots, all right? Because in Russia, they have this phenomenon of Savok. That's literally Soviet mentality. And basically, Savok is doing whatever you're told to do. Don't ask questions, no matter how fucking stupid that is. And actually, this one is a very, very good explanation. Remember all those Russian aircraft that were protected by the tires from the good Ukrainian drones? You've seen a lot of them. For example, during the Operation Spiderweb, you could actually see them up close, all right, before those Russian bombers were smoked. You could see that for some unexplainable reason, Russians consider that actually using tires that are fucking hollow, all right, on the inside, like 90% of the tire is a fucking void. So they believe that this stuff actually protects their airplanes, their generators, their power stations and stuff like that. One thing I can tell you for sure, this stuff burns like a motherfucker. I can tell from the Revolution of Dignity. This one was good. The next one, I think we can also characterize as the Russian cringe, because we talked about this yesterday. So yesterday, some anonymous hackers hacked the living crap out of the terror Russian Max Messenger, the messenger that was designed in close cooperation with FSB and meant to be the most protected shit on Earth. Alright, Max Messenger that is currently used by 99% of Russians as a substitute for all those, you know, gay and unorthodox WhatsApp, Telegram, Viber, you name it, Signal. It's absolutely unholy and heretic to use signal in Russia nowadays. You can easily go to jail for that. And that is why they all use the Max Messenger. So anonymous hackers, absolutely brave and amazing people, actually hacked 15.4 million account details, including names, phones, everything. And as a proof of what they did, they actually published personal details of Brigade Nikolai, that is a Russian member of parliament, who, by the way, uses very, very much unorthodox iPhone 17 Pro in Moscow. Why the hell is this Russian member of parliament using unorthodox, unholy American device? He's supposed to use, like topic, like that. Where the hell is this? He's supposed to use Russian tech instead, all right? This stuff, I guarantee it cannot be intercepted, hacked. Russians also, by the way, it's true, they also use this one as a torture device because there's like this very big battery, and Russians are known for using this stuff not only as a field phone but also as a torture tool. You can Google this. So it makes it 100% Russian phone, all right? Call and torture could be a very, very good slogan. But that is actually the device that the dude should have used instead of a fucking iPhone. Are you kidding me? How can you do that? It's forbidden. Yeah, and also they have hash codes for their password. That is passport, not password, but the hash codes of their passwords are, of course, included. How cool is that? The most recent, the most protected technology that, again, has absolutely no analogs on the West, because nobody on the West even wants to use that unholy shit. And some inspiring updates coming straight from Spain. Ukraine will receive modern Spanish radars for the air defense with a range of 460 kilometers at least. The Spanish government approved the contract for production and delivery of radar systems Lanza LTR-25 together with the package of logistical supplies. Radars LTR-25 are able to reveal and track aircraft, UAVs, and all sorts of aerial targets at a range of up to 460 kilometers. And they are also very, very good even in case of the area being completely saturated with electronic warfare measures. So this link is also this system is also integrated with the Link 16, which allows to integrate it into a whole network of air defense and exchange its data in real time with allied measures. How cool is that? My dear Spanish friends, you are legendary, absolutely. All right, this one was fast. Those were most of the updates. Short update on Yulia Tymoshenko that was detained yesterday because of the corruption scandal in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, in the Ukrainian parliament. So the Ukrainian law enforcement services published actually plenty of the records of her talking about bribing Ukrainian members of parliament. They wanted to destroy the majority the coalition in the Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine, and they fucking failed dramatically, which I can only celebrate because that's exactly what you deserve. If you keep living in like that, you know, desperate and corrupted Ukraine of 1990s, because you come from that period of time. She could easily retire and do many, many good things for Ukraine. Instead, she decided to bribe members of parliament, and that's exactly what she deserved. Ooh, this one was good. Guys, I'm sorry, I need to take a closer look at this one. So, first thing I can tell is that it's light. It's a big plus. It will kill the person carrying it. It's a tiny, tiny downside, but come on, who cares? The quality, I can say that, you know, looking at the material and stuff, of course, I cannot touch it, all right, through the screen, because I would actually have to wash my hands again. But I can say that the quality doesn't look that bad, though. Maybe that's even something like Daikona, Dainima, that, you know, like very, very tough fabric. Who knows? Plenty of like dampers to soften the impact. All right. Yeah. Bulletproof glue. My God. That's not a knot hole, that's a feature. Yeah. Am I... Do they know wood splinters? Cardura, if they spend money. If. For example, if we are talking about metal helmets, right? Metal helmets, primarily not used anymore, of course, except the Terrorist Federation, because literally they don't give a damn. They're good, they protect well and stuff, cannot complain, but of course they're heavy. It's like literally 1 kilogram of metal sitting on your head all the time. Neck hurts, I can tell. Then we have Kevlar helmets, absolutely amazing helmets. They will protect you from all sorts of debris and fragments falling on you and stuff. But when they are exposed to the sunlight, of course, the quality of those helmets degrades over time, so you have to change them. This stuff on your screens, like probably the biggest hazard for those armor plates are like termites and mice, I think. But on the other hand, if you find 4 Russians wearing those armored vests, you know, scattered somewhere in the field or in the tree line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, we need 6 of them. So if you find like 6 of those Russians, you can actually build, if not a casket, but a tiny house for birds, 100% like a bird feeder or something. They could be used for that as well. Well protected against snowballs. Oh my God. The way it is stitched does not look like Cardura, so probably much weaker. Actually, you could be right. Russian soldiers aren't worth that much. That's why they get these body armor. No. The Russian soldiers get body armor stuffed with like hay and shit. Because that body armor belongs not to like some Russian soldier. That body armor actually belongs to like Russian engineer, alright? Engineer responsible for some a serious job, alright? Like the job that actually requires using some of the brain capabilities. It's actually covered in mold. A bit of mold, a bit of shit. Yeah, that's like Russian reality. Same principle of 18th century sailing warships. Cannonballs hitting other ships caused more deaths from splinters than the wall itself. Yeah, I just thought about it. Like, imagine a Russian wearing that one actually getting hit by a fragment, for example. And not only he finds himself like with increased iron, alright, in his body, but also full of freaking splinters. That's kinda nasty. But as a Ukrainian, I completely approve that. You get better plates when you level up. Actually, yeah, but because we're talking about Russians, the only way to level up, alright, the only way to improve is when you actually don't need any armor vest anymore. They probably stole that piece of plywood from a Ukrainian house. That plywood could actually come from like Hostomel, from my very own barracks, because they actually stole all the wood, alright, from the floors, at least on the second floor. That's something that I remember. Magyar aims for the balls. Dear Vlad, Magyar cannot aim for the balls when he hits Russians. Otherwise, he would not kill even a single one. The only way to level up is going 6 feet under. My friends, I feel so happy that now, you know, we can speak the same tongue of the dark humor on this channel. Oh my god, I feel blessed. Even the European Bronze Age of the Pacific Northwest tribes and cultures had better types of handmade armor made from natural materials. Yeah, 100%. This is a child's idea of an armor plate. I can confirm because when I was like 12, I had something similar. It's split and moldy at the bottom, not good if you plan on children. Yeah, especially if like you sit down too fast and oh my god. Basically, this is how the Buratino, how the Pinocchio was born. Jesus. I love this. Next month they get wooden bullets to match. Ozzy, please stop, my friend. Oh, my side hurts when I laugh. Why? What is wrong with me? Oh, I guess Russians' repeated ballistic missile hits were intended to destroy the potential for Ukraine to develop their own armor from plywood and other home renovation materials. The craziest shit about all that is that when the Russians are crying about, you know, this evil Ukraine attacking the heating power stations in Russia in the cold, actually these messages come from the same people who were like watching those cringy advertisements about Europeans, about Ukrainians eating hamster soup, and they were laughing honestly, alright? They were laughing so openly and it was so funny to them, but what can I say? Karma is a bitch. You need to suggest that they save the ring pulls from their cans. They could make chain. Oh, that would actually fit their cavalry very well. If you think about this, that would actually fit their cavalry. You know, they can actually have like spears and stuff. They're already degrading, like they're rolling back in terms of their weaponry, because already 2022 we saw the Russian orcs armed with like Mosin Nagant rifles produced more than 100 years ago, and they can roll back even further, because I'm sure that they can still find plenty of muskets, and then we can travel all the way into like medieval times, dark ages, when the spear would actually decide the outcome of the battles on the European battlefield. They surf on snow with it. Yeah, they do all sorts of crazy shit when they're drunk. Surprised they aren't sent with jousting sticks. They were, because if you remember one of my updates, like 2 years ago, I think, or 1 year ago, I think 2 years ago, we've already seen Russians literally going into battle with sticks, and it wasn't literally like they were wounded or something. The dude was literally lying on the ground with the stick pretending he's shooting. That was something that literally tore me apart. How cool is that? I'm not sure what is cooler, like this one or like bricks instead of the dynamic protection on the Russian tank. I think maybe this one. Maybe this one, because this one, if you sit down too fast, you risk of like giving a burst to a Pinocchio. The sticks were supplied, but they got burnt last night. Yeah. Oh my god, they're using termites instead of MREs now. The bird just stores the food. Seems obvious. Actually, Katya, this thought is legit. I didn't think about it this way, but yeah. Basically, they can carry their MRE on themselves. If weapon doesn't have a reach of 60 km, it won't help you much in Ukraine. I pretty much agree on this one. Next thing, they will clean Toys R Us off all toy pistols and child helmets. I can expect that. But again, who knows? On the other hand, basically every Russian family has some sort of a cringy World War II period uniform. In most cases, of course, because you know that Russians enjoy celebrating the Victor G Day, all right, in the Terrorist Federation, and they all wear those old-fashioned Russian uniforms, put those uniforms on their children and stuff like that, put those poor children in those cringy makeshift tanks and go on a stroll. That is something legit. I'm sure that, you know, when Russia decides to mobilize everyone, at least they will save some money on Russian uniforms, making Putin extremely happy, because you know, corruption is our biggest ally if we're talking about Russia. Just a little snack pack, yeah. Like worms, caterpillar, actually mushrooms, alright, because like if you keep that as moldy as that, of course you can expect literally like mushrooms growing there. You can fry mushrooms, make mushroom soup. Very, very nutritious. A phone book would be better than that bit of play. 100%. But I don't know, I just feel so happy when we look at this stuff. I have no idea. Maybe there's something wrong with me. I just look at that and I enjoy. You know, like scientists recently discovered that when you have a dog or a cat at home, all right, so when your pet looks at you, actually your pet at this very moment receives a lot of pleasure, a lot of positive emotions, literally from looking at the person they love. All right. And that's exactly what I feel right now. I'm looking at that, and for some unknown reason, I literally feel happy like a baby. Jesus, that's just so good. Russians just keep making me happier on the insides with that cringy shit every single day. I read that 150,000 Russians are missing in action in Ukraine. As of beginning of the last year, again, according to Putin's relative, who accidentally revealed the number of Russians missing in action, as of early last year, no, I think as of early 2024, or 25, I think it was 25 still. The number of soldiers missing in action in Ukraine was officially around 50,000. But I don't believe that this is even the close number, all right? I think that 150, 200,000 is something more reliable. Because, again, we know that the compensations that they pay to the terrorizing families, they're actually a very, very big burden on the Ministry of the Russian Stolen Toilets and Defense, because Russians are struggling financially at this point. The whole terrorist federation is currently struggling very, very much. They already pay almost 50% on the war from their budget, which is absolutely fucking crazy. That's why they are collecting the IDs from the Russian soldiers that became good. They literally get rid of them, because imagine how much money they can actually save on that and build more drones to hit more Ukrainian kindergartens. That's very, very important for them. It's much more important than paying reparations, and of course it's much more important than repairing Russian hospitals and schools. There were 70,000 Russians in 2025, yeah. So when you see the daily losses and add that up to see the shrinking of the Russian army. Something around that. Yes, 2025. I remember I made that report, but I already don't remember when it was, all right? Because I cannot keep all that in my head. My RAM memory is not enough. Next step, using wooden horses for transportation. Oh, I can imagine this one. Tires on planes improves aerodynamics, apparently. 100%. I think the scientists in the Russian Skolkovo Innovation Center can confirm this one. Rocking horses, yeah, those. Apparently the Russian meat assault suckers are only given one clip of ammo. They also tend to lose their stuff, but it was their fashion in 2024. In 2024 they would lose all their stuff on the battlefield, on the front line. They would run back to their rear positions and say, oh my god, I lost my rifle, I lost my ammo and stuff, take me home. but it doesn't work anymore. In 2025, they are shot. If they retreat, they are literally shot. Considering how their cars are, I wouldn't call it innovation center, more like regression. That is exactly the reason why they call regression and innovation in Russia. They are KAMAZ trucks. They legendary Orthodox Soviet Russian KAMAZ trucks. As soon as the sanctions hit in 2022, they rolled back to like 1987 version of their KAMAZ trucks, using like that chain of production, all right, because they don't have foreign parts anymore. The KAMAZ trucks that don't even have like that, like hydraulics, all right, that is absolutely crazy. Have you discussed food yet? Real food and not insects or mushrooms. What can I say? Okay, I will torture you just a bit because that is the most recent stuff I had the other day. I literally picked my lady from her job and we went to the grocery store finally, okay, because she works, I work all the time. And that's literally what I cooked in like 15 minutes. All right. So that's basically tomatoes, shrimps in soy sauce with pepper and oh shit, I forgot to add garlic. Oh my god. But anyways, they were tasty regardless. And of course, spaghetti with Italian weeds and spice. And it was so good. We watched, you wanna know what we watched while having this goodness? We watched Born Identity, because my lady didn't see that one. And one interesting discovery that I made while watching Born Identity was... Just a second, let me find this one, because that's extremely important. Yeah, there it is. So one discovery that I made while watching the Born Identity is when the movie ended and I'm like reading the titles and I'm like, Doug Liman? The director of Born Identity, Doug Liman, because I love Born Identity so much. Like the trilogy itself is really, really cool, actually. The way he deals with all the challenges and stuff like that, it's amazing. And I'm like, Doug Liman, really? Of course, Doug Liman is the director, because that's literally something that I learned and forgot about him, all right? So yes, Doug Liman is a director, and we met in Hostomel in 2022, back in those days. I don't know, maybe someday we will see like a movie about Hostomel with a bunch of real stars, all right, real Hollywood stars playing my friends, brave National Guardsmen facing like that cringy Russian Spetsnaz landing there, you know, leaving their skid marks all over the place. Sylvester Stallone, at least Sylvester Stallone, as my commander, that would be absolutely sick. And some tiny humble role for me, played by somebody like, I don't know, Jason Statham, for example. Something very, very short, all right? I'm just like drinking tea in my office. That'd be really cool. The reason I posted that on my Instagram back in those days was literally because when you probably remember that when I started my channel, there were plenty of Russian commentaries saying that that dude is a Polish actor, recording his reports on the studio in Hollywood. Should I do it? I cannot do that, my friend. I'm too shy. I actually wanted to join like this acting club, all right, like tiny theater back in school. And my teacher actually had to pay me, so I would not join, all right? Control check in the chat. Okay, fries. I recognize the word. Yes, we are talking about food, my friend. Pommes. We call them pommes. Pay where the yes, I was very good. I actually made my teacher cry during our acting classes, and yeah, he actually said, I will give you money, but please don't come back ever again, because we cannot withstand your talent." If you have enough confidence to do these streams, you can easily act. Oh my god. Generally, yeah, generally, I think I can. I mean, I made skits already on my channel. Some of them were not that bad, I think. Ruski bots are scary. They control everything. I made an X account and commented on Crazy Putin. Within 2 hours, my account was limited because of comments that are inflammatory. I'm not surprised, my friend. We know that X is freaking populated by bot farms. Absolutely populated. And considering the fact that Elon Musk is such a big Russian supporter and his daddy goes to Moscow, like he works there, and stuff, I believe that they actually allow those bot farms operate in Twitter. They know about them. They literally won't do anything to stop them. Even Khamenei has an account on Twitter. Iranians in Iran are not allowed to have accounts on Twitter. Alright, but Khamenei has an account on Twitter where he posts all of his bullshit. That is, again, like selective freedom of speech according to Elon Musk. No freedom of speech for Iranians, but bloody dictator Khamenei, please, here is your account, we will do everything. How nice is it that Iran shut off the internet? A noticeable downturn in bot commentaries on various platforms. Iranian bots, yes, I agree, but Iranians weren't that active in terms of bots. Like, if Russia would shut down its internet, that would be a completely different thing. But, for example, when they started throttling the YouTube traffic, I physically noticed that the amount of Russian bot commentaries on YouTube actually decreased. It's crazy. On the other hand, from our experience, I can tell that they don't necessarily have to have bot farms on the Russian territory. They can easily have a bot farm somewhere in Germany because it only requires just a few pieces of equipment, several hundred or thousand of SIM cards, and they can use them. They can actually ship those SIM cards from Russia or Belarus. In Belarus, they can produce millions of SIM cards and ship them wherever they need. So they can literally install that stuff somewhere in Germany or in Denmark or in like Switzerland, who knows, you know, and they can use VPN and do their dirty business. What is our opinion on the Tehran mullah mafia joining the open-air petting zoo of degenerates in Moscow? But my opinion is that we will most probably not see them, you know, like wearing those dirty wife beaters, sitting somewhere on the kitchen with vodka and balalaika, with like Yanukovych playing guitar, you know, Bashar Assad playing Counter-Strike, Khamenei simply, you know, sitting there sadly drinking schnapps, and Vova Putin, you know, drawing vaginas on the whiteboard for them. On the other hand, imagine this fucking circus literally taking place there. Holy shit. I should limit my fantasy, it's too rich. That's such a farce. I should make like an AI generated picture of that. Somewhere in like Russian Khrushchevka, I don't know. Okay, let's think about this. Let's imagine that they all have to run. Like Bashar, Putin, Khamenei, and Yanukovych. Where would they run from planet Earth? Pyongyang? Beijing? I have no idea. This one is actually interesting. Laugh all you want, but Bashar will soon be your son's favorite game streamer. So, luckily he won't, because according to the information that we actually have, Putin told Bashar Assad not to give any commentaries, not to be public anymore. So Bashar Assad lives his happy, quiet life in that elite Russian residential complex. He has several apartments there for his brother, his wife, and stuff. And himself, he spends time playing games. I'm not even sure that he plays online, all right? Vlad, first time I've seen you, I thought you were a troll. Adam, he is. I guarantee. But he's a good troll. That meme of the dictator says as a bachelor apartment was hilarious. 100%. I laughed at it so bad, and yeah, we need some more people. Maybe I will also add like Elon Musk, Steven Seagal, Edward Snowden. Dubai is center for criminals with money. Yes, that is true. Basically, Diana Panchenko, that's technically Ukrainian but pro-Russian collaborationist, who is known for spreading Russian disinformation and pretend that she does it for Ukrainian people. Basically, she lives there as well because she has money and stuff. Imagine their wives coffee morning. Yeah, not all of them brought their wives. So Viktor Yanukovych, the dude, okay, the Ukrainian dude who ran to Russia in 2014, he had a problematic marriage because his wife was extremely, I don't know if I should call her stupid, because she is known for example, in 2004, 2005, she gave this absolutely cringy commentary on the television that she has a legit information that all those orange pro-democratic protesters on the streets, meaning us, we actually consume the oranges that are drugged, and that is why we behave like that. And she said that on camera, and according to different sources, that very evening Yanukovych broke her nose for that, because she looked extremely ridiculous. Like, even for the most stupid supporter of Yanukovych, that would look just cringy as fuck. So he broke her nose, and later, when Yanukovych lived in that huge complex in Mezhigirya, I will show you. I will show you, because I've been to Mezhigirya. Oh my god, that cringy body armor. So this is the complex of Yanukovych and Mezhigirya, and it's not all, my friends. This stuff is actually huge. Like, that's just like a tiny part of it. Like, the whole territory is the size of a tiny town. It would cost Ukraine many millions of dollars to build for Yanukovych. So he built Mezhigirya complex for himself, and his wife would stay all that time. She would stay in Yanakievo, in Donbass, on the occupied territory. So they kind of separated, they kind of quietly divorced, and Yanukovych lived in that complex with his lover. She was his assistant, and her daughter. And actually, a lot of drawings were found later when they ran away to Russia. A lot of drawings were found there in the Mezhigirya, drawings made by that girl. She was portraying like me, my mommy, and my uncle Yanukovych, like soon-to-be father. So it was something like that. On some level, I feel kind of pity towards his ex-wife, because she wasn't a politician. Like, let's be honest, she wasn't supposed to give interviews on camera and all that shit. Of course, she looked as cringy as fuck every single time as a first lady. I will just... that was like Ukrainian first lady right there on the picture. All right. Yes, she looked fucking cringy. She wasn't like educated. She wasn't representable, all that stuff. But she is just a common person, all right? It wasn't her task. And when she lived in the Yanakievo back in those days, I don't think that she saw herself being a fucking first lady of a European country. I don't know. Sorry about that. I don't know. Maybe she just didn't imagine that, and that's why at some point the advisors, Paul Manafort himself, told Yanukovych that, dude, please don't bring your wife anywhere, all right? Because that stuff will bury you, all right, forever. Oh my god. Oh, my ribs. Shit. I think I damaged something last time I laughed that hard. Oh. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. But again, on the other hand, she was like a common person, all right? She wasn't supposed to, you know, to become a political public figure in Ukraine. Let me just close her. I know that it's too disturbing to watch for an extended period of time. So that's why after Paul Manafort advised Yanukovych to actually stop bringing her anywhere, like wherever he would go, you know. So he started showing on public with that blonde lady. Often they lived together in Mazhihiria, again for extended period of time. And basically they ran to Russia together as well. Makes me think of number 4367 in the catalog, also known as Melania Trump. Totally cringe, my friend. I agree on that. There was like a tiny investigation on what Melania was involved into before she became the first lady. Maybe some time we will talk about that as well. Tell me if you want it, all right? Because, you know, we are talking only facts here. We're talking only facts and satire on this channel. Sometimes we talk this stuff as well because we love conspiracies, even though they suck balls, but we don't talk about them often. But if you like to see more, you know, those like scandals, sensations, and stuff like that, I can easily do that for you, my friends. I don't care. Even in the final months of the USSR, as the Russians were terrorizing the people of the Baltic states with not only physical brutality, but having cut off food and gas imports to starve the population. Yeah. Russians would not feel well, all right, if they weren't committing violence against other people. Birds ain't real. The owls are not what they seem. You need a good laugh every now and then. I think I can do that. I mean, why not? After all, if you have a need in like the darkest possible humor, I will be happy to help you, my friends. What are your views on Fedorov appointment as defense minister? First of all, he is an IT guy. He has very big connections with industries, military industries, with hackers, IT army, all that shit. He has not a sort of my god, I lack English words, my friends. Just a second, I need a coffee sip, all right? If you serve in the military or if you're a professional military, I don't know about other countries, maybe it's like that as well. But in our part of the world, you start thinking, like according to the book, okay? Even though you need to know how to think being a professional military, but you always think about the events, the tasks, anything, according to the book. That's what we call prof deformation. So civilian people don't have that. Civilian people can adapt, they can discuss things that military cannot discuss things. And Fedorov, I think he will be a very, very good person for this position because he's a civilian, all right? They need to understand how army works. Fedorov knows how army works. Plus, he will be a supervisor, basically, because in the Ministry of Defense, as a chief of Ministry of Defense, he will be a supervisor. So I can only applaud to that, and also he will be responsible for all sorts of procurement. Again, we're talking about drones, equipment, so I think it's a very, very good decision. Why I don't really support the idea of assigning military to such positions, because again, military know how military works, all right, all the military structures and procurement, and that's the problem, because they are limited by what they know, okay? They know that you cannot do this because it's too complicated and we tried and it doesn't work. You need a person who doesn't know that it's complicated, and this person will make it work. About Melania, check out her time in Dresden, Germany during Putin's time stationed there. Really? Because if it's true, I can already feel, like my internal paranoid is waking up already from this information. I will check it out. Thank you. In my experience, is pro-mortar folks who use Kiev instead of Kyiv, 100%. And for example, in Russia, they used to say not in Ukraine, but on Ukraine, for some fucked up reason. Apparently because they are so much literate. We just popped in to hit the like. Thank you so much, Bert and Ernie. Thank you so much. So good to see you on my channel, my friends. I agree on this. Learning language and the culture also takes time. Don't stop and keep at it. 100%. I wish we could have some kind of technical opportunity to have like language clubs. I would help you learn Ukrainian and you would help me learn Deutsch, for example. That would be perfect. I can sacrifice like 1 extra hour of my sleep for that. Her name was Melania Knauss, at the time changed to KGB in cooperation with Stasi to Melania Knauss. I will just make a screenshot of that, all right, using very, very high-tech solution, because I've heard about this one. I need to check it. I feel in English it should be spelled something like Kyiv. Kyiv. Look. It's Kyiv. K like in pet, E like in peach. Kyiv. But I know it's hard, and especially because we have this crazy transliteration of Ukrainian words that even not all Ukrainians understand how it works. For example, before this transliteration was officially adopted in Ukraine, we would call, for example, Hogwarts, we would call Hogwarts. Okay, it sounds kind of the same. But then we started printing the books with like proper official transliteration from English to Ukrainian and back, and Hogwarts from Hogwarts in Ukrainian books changed to Gogwarts. What the fuck? I have literally no idea. But maybe I'm just rambling for nothing, I don't know. I'd write it like Kyiv in my language also. Kharkiv, Lviv. Yeah, something like that. I can remember. Oh my god. Oh. I know Spanish. English is backwards. I'm slowly learning beautiful Ukrainian language. On the other hand, English is so cool because it's so easy to learn. Seriously, I don't even understand why people find it hard to learn English, because it didn't take me much time to learn it, actually. Like, I'm watching movies, for example, The Bourne Identity, in English language. I understand 100% of the English speech in this movie or any other movie, and it only took me only 25 years to learn. Funny thing, I noticed Trump. Yeah, that is exactly the way we write Trump in Ukrainian language. What languages have you studied? I studied English in school and myself. And that's pretty much it. But myself outside of school, you know, just for me. I studied Polish, a bit Italian when I was a kid. I completely forgot everything. However, I could speak more or less fluently Italian language when I was 11. Polish, yeah, Russian. Every Ukrainian speaks Russian because you always need to know how to interrogate your captured enemies. And also German. Yeah, German I'm learning, but I'm not very successful at it. You may ask why, like, you live in Germany. The reason is that even despite the fact that I live in Germany, I speak 99% of my time in English language. Literally on streams, making videos, talking to different people, so I mostly speak English, which sucks. I need to speak German more. That's why I require somebody to literally harass me, alright? I know Polish, English, and start learning Ukrainian. I know a bit of Ukrainian, but it was taught to me by Ukrainian soldiers, so it's probably not suitable for speaking in public. I kinda know what you're talking about because, unfortunately, yes, that's the way we speak in the Ukrainian army. I know, but I think it's like that in any other army as well, but I might be wrong. I only served in the Ukrainian one. I used to know Japanese and French and stopped practicing it and forgot. If you could speak French, then you could definitely speak Ukrainian language, because French language is so hard to learn. Kurva detected. Yes. Yes. Detected perfectly. It's like that in any army, yeah. Most probably. Like, we have our very, very special jargon, all right, in the armed forces. Not only in army, I was taught Arabic by my fiance's friends, and they taught me bad words. Yeah. I also know quite a bunch of bad words in Persian, but I don't often say them because my lady thinks that it's embarrassing that if I start cursing in Persian, somebody might think that she taught me all that, you know. And she's like, every single time I'm like, Mother Gender Khamenei. She's like, oh my God, don't say that in public, please. People will think bad about me. Definitely kurva. That can actually become our hashtag on this channel. For example, when you see things like that, we can hashtag it. Like, yes, definitely, 100%. And by the way, you don't see that face on the screen, all right? But I can still see it while talking to you, my friends. I feel like my sanity is getting drained out of my head slowly. The German language is very similar to the Swedish language, I can confirm. When Ukrainians say focus, it makes me laugh. Focus. Look, there is another thing that Ukrainians say all the time, especially in the army. All right, we say a sentence that doesn't make much sense. All right, to English-speaking people, we say your bunny wrote, and English-speaking people often like get absolutely confused, like which bunny, what did it write, why, you know. But you can hear that a lot. For example, when a Ukrainian soldier is trying to repair the fucking engine, and then something breaks, and he's like, your bunny wrote, you know, and it's like that all the time. Please stop showing that photo. I need to floss my eyeballs again. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I will warn you next time, all right? So, if you want to know what your bunny wrote it means, you can ask some of your Ukrainian friends. Zelensky always wants a solid peace. We all do. We all do. Yeah. Like a sheet of paper, you know, stuff like that. No matter how much you speak English, there's always something, all right, that you always miss. My wife cracks me up and she says, "Do you hear it for smells?" Yeah, we have that. Like, I'm getting confused all the time myself, because I also say that. Like, I can hear the smell, you know. If you know the common Scandinavian languages, you can read the other two, but good luck understanding someone speaking in Swedish if your language is Danish. Ooh, yeah. I know that one. Last time, and basically first time I've been to Sweden, met those amazing people there, by the way, that I miss already so much. And yeah, we noticed that with Angelica, that Swedish language is very, very much similar to Deutsch. But I cannot say that it's as similar as Ukrainian is similar to Polish, for example. Your bunny road. Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah. So, did I tell you the joke about a ferry and three tankers? Please let me know, because I don't remember if I did. And that one is like very, very good. Back from watching the Russian dudes. Hello, my friend. Russian dude is like the most blue-yellow channel on the whole YouTube, which I can only respect. I hope Artyom is fine. I can say many improper words in a few languages, mostly slang. My favorite is French. Did you know that the word kurwa has many meanings in Polish? You can use it when you're happy, sad, nervous, or content, or to describe something cool, bad, and ugly. Yeah, absolutely. I know that one. We have like a few of those similar words. All right, so the joke about a ferry and three tankers. And there is a tank, all right? Three tankers in a tank driving somewhere down the road in Donbass in the middle of nowhere. And all of a sudden, the tank stops and the track just breaks and falls apart. And they get out of the tank and look at the damage and like cursing and stuff, and then they start like repairing everything. It's fucking cold, like minus 35, like the wolves howling, fucking drones flying, the tankers, you know, like smoking, cursing, repairing that shit. All of a sudden, a fairy emerges. All right, like beautiful lady wearing bikini despite the snow and stuff, with like a magic wand, just emerges next to them. Tankers like, what the fuck? And she was like, what are you doing, boys? They're like, we're fucking. She looks at the track at them trying to repair that stuff, and she's like, boys, do you wanna fuck for real? They look at each other like, why not? She waves her magic wand, fucking turret falls down. Where is it? Yeah. That's one of my favorites. Do you want for real? Let's have for real. Insomnia listening from North Idaho. Hey, 3 a.m. I'm here for Ukraine. Thank you so much, Philip. We all have insomnia since 2022 to some extent. So I feel you, my friend. Thank you for staying with us. Third chapter listening from somewhere in the Midwest. Oh, that's nice. Speaking of Russian tanks, do you know how much fuel a Russian tank burns? The entire crew. Oh my god, this one is good. This one is very good. Your bunny wrote, yes, I just figured out what it means. Yeah. Like, unfortunately, you know, to understand some jokes, you gotta know a bit of languages spoken in that part of the world. Starsky going to team up with Kristaps for Russian cringe. Yeah, I would really like that. And actually, Kristaps can talk a lot about Russian cringe. He has a lot of academic knowledge in terms of the Russian cringe, something that I don't have. I have so much insomnia that I decided to be born 2 weeks late. Oh my god. How many tanks does Russia have? Is the Soviet stockpile depleted yet? The recent assessment that I read was that in 2026 they will only have something like a quarter of all of their stockpile, including the Soviet stockpile, remaining. All right. But the problem with that stockpile is that 60 to 70% of those tanks, they are not combat worthy at all. You cannot even repair them. You can literally just use the cannon. I don't know, you can just dismantle it, put it on train, deliver it somewhere to the position and use it as, I don't know, some unprecise artillery. That's basically it. There was a kidnapping in my local school today. It's alright, the kid woke up. I see, I know. I understand this one, alright. Kidnapping, yeah. Those few moments that Ukrainian soldiers just walked up to Russian positions and just said, you're nickfuckers, yeah. The way we currently use the land drones instead of infantry, that is absolutely insane. You know, back in the times of the World War II, I remember they already used, I'm not sure if Allies did it, but Nazi Germans had like this land drone full of explosives, all right? And the way we utilize the same approach, we literally have like those tiny drones with just a bunch of artillery shells and like remote detonator. And the way we just deliver them to the Russian positions, that is absolutely insane. And again, it's wire controlled, doesn't require any anti-electronic warfare equipment. Just drive it as if it's like a toy car, all right, remotely controlled. That's absolutely crazy. Is there a recycling center for Russian tanks? Yes, in fact there is. In fact, I know several factories where the remains of the Russian tanks are being recycled. I don't really think that they recycle like the bodies of those tanks. First of all, because the Russian armor is not just, you know, like a piece of steel. Russian armor, and generally the modern tank armor, is made of several layers, all right, it's complex. So you cannot just throw it into a furnace and melt it and stuff. It requires some different approach. But I know that whatever parts that can be still utilized, salvaged and utilized, we do that. So we have at least several factories that I know of. In fact, I lived not far from one of them. How do you call the last live picture taken from a UA drone? A Napster. Oh, nice. Yeah. It's crazy to think about it, you know, how transparent the war actually became. That literally you can identify almost every Russian invader who became a fertilizer, or the past year at least. That's crazy. Irish person in Russian airport at Tickle sell one ticket to Dublin. Seller to Dublin. Irish person to Dublin. Yeah, I know this one. We had a cafeteria actually in Kiev, like basically like a tiny Irish restaurant called To Dublin. We used to celebrate Saint Patrick's Day there. German tracked mine was called Goliath. Yeah, something like that. They were nasty actually, but like they were fucking huge and loud. They would just roll to the elite positions, and you can hear it from like 5 kilometers away. So when it arrives, you can just run away, all right? So they would be good in terms of demolishing something. For example, demolishing a fortification or demolishing a bridge, if it's required, things like that. But the drones that are currently used, they are kind of quiet. Again, if there is a shootout or artillery strike taking place in that same area, you cannot even hear it, all right? Even the drones that are used today, the tiny ones, right, on the tactical level, like the FPV drones or drones with droppable charges, if there is a shootout, even a tiny shootout in the area, you don't really hear them. Especially those dropping charges, you know, that fly at an altitude like 200, 300 meters. You cannot hear them at all. Anyone else think it's strange that the astronauts all left the International Space Station for a medical emergency? I think it's not strange, for example, if Russians delivered their fucking shit up there, because if they delivered like, you know, a supply of some fucking, I don't know, Russian pickled beetroot, shit, all that stuff, then I understand why they decided to evacuate. I would do that myself. Russians are so cringy when they say, do you want to try she? Yeah, she. I don't think that you would call something legit a she. I have no idea, but if you have such an opportunity, please save yourself, all right? Better try like proper Ukrainian borscht than she. That stuff sucks. I would find a lot of like jars with Russian shit in Hostomel, because already March, April 2022, already back then, the Russian so-called volunteers, they would already back then collect different stuff for Russian invaders, like provision, and send all that stuff to their positions somehow. So when we took Hostomel, when we liberated the area and we went to that school where Russians were based, we found plenty of those jars, like green shitty looking tomatoes pickled, something like that, and also plenty of shit that looked like puke. I couldn't even open a single jar of that. I would not withstand that. But apparently they opened one on board of International Space Station. Can you imagine cabbage farts up there? How bad are Russian MREs? Steven, check out the unboxing of the Russian MRE on Good Morning Kyiv show together with Mercado. We did it on his channel. You can Google it. You will understand. Like, we almost puked. Of course, if I absolutely had no other option and no self-respect, I would eat it. We do all sorts of crazy shit to survive, right? But the only thing I could actually eat so far from the Russian MRE would be literally like sugar, and they also have like instant tea or something like that, or some kind of instant beverage. Yeah. I almost tried to capture Russian MRE. It was disgusting. It sucked, especially like their meat in the tin cans. Fuck, it smells like ass. Seriously. And again, you can confirm, my friend, that wherever Russians leave their traces, I'm talking specifically about, those glorious fucking Russian army, wherever they go, it starts smelling like dick and ass for a while, at least for like a year. Because in Hostomel, I lived in an apartment in the building where Russians were residing for like a month. And a year after that, it still stank like Russians there. Like, they have very, very specific stench that you will remember forever. Why do you think North Koreans prefer to eat canned dog meat? Yeah, that's the reason. Tushonka in cans and other Russian canned meat are horrible. 100%. That is the reason why there is such a huge gap between Ukrainian and Russian cultures, because in Ukraine we treat food properly, all right? We would never allow ourselves to have low quality provision, stuff like that. We have problems with tushonka, I can also admit. We do have problem with tushonka, with the canned meat in Ukraine. But you can still find good stuff. The reason why we have that problem is, well, I don't know. Maybe it's because myself, I got used to like very high quality meat, all right? But in the army, we have absolutely perfect meat. In the Ukrainian MREs, everything is perfect. Everything is so good. You take that pack with rice, with chicken meat. There's not a single piece of like skin or whatever. Everything is good. There's so much meat, so you can just be full of meat without even touching the rice itself. But the difference between, for example, Ukrainian food culture and Russian food culture, it's like the difference between Italian restaurant and some hot dog kiosk, all right? Even though some hot dogs are very, very, very nice, just not in Russia. And since we're stuck, since we've started talking about food, my dear friends, I think it's a good idea to wrap it up. All right, slowly, but we're going there because I also need to have breakfast, and I need to finish some very, very cool interview for UATV. I'm sure you will love it. My dear friends, thank you so much for watching. Again, big thanks to everyone who donated to Car for Ukraine, donated to my fundraiser for my brigade. I appreciate it so much, and I expect to share footage of this truck being actually delivered to my guys very, very soon. I hope to see some familiar faces finally. And when will you finally do the interview with Yankee? I hope I will at some point, because he's very, very hard to reach, unfortunately. Again, big thanks to everyone who donated to our fundraiser, who supported my guys. That's very important. I don't know how long will that car survive, because we're talking the front lines. We know that vehicles don't live long there, but at the same time, we also know that those trucks are absolutely vital for Ukrainian soldiers, and they help to evacuate, they help to deliver stuff, deliver ammunition, deliver drone equipment, deliver electronic warfare measures and stuff. So thank you so much, because your support literally saves lives. And with that, I thank you so much. Big thanks also to Katya, to... Is Newman there? I don't know. Newman, let me know if you're in the chat. Big thanks to everyone who is with me this morning. Again, it's a good pleasure. It's a big pleasure. Always nice to see you, my friends. All right. And yay, Newman is there. Katya, Newman, thank you so much for being with us. We'll see you next time. Treat yourself with something good. Please let me know in the commentaries if you really want some new segment on this channel dedicated to scandals, intrigues, all that stuff, because generally speaking, why not? We all enjoy that stuff from time to time. See you later, and as always, be safe.